Hey everyone, it's Tanya, and today I'm standing in the middle of a rose bench, but amazingly, we're actually going to talk pond plants. One of the big things that I think a lot of people don't know is we've been selling pond supplies, aquatics, anything really for your backyard pond, for your container pond, for your container pond, for your pond. We've been selling that for the better part of 20 to 25 years. So today I want to take you through a few basic things, and I think some of the big questions we get is how the heck do we keep our pond clean, and what plants do we actually use? So if we start with the clean part first, and then we'll look at the fun stuff. So when we think about a pond, one of my big things is we want to make sure that we've got a natural ecosystem flowing. And that ecosystem has a combination of good bacteria, has a little bit of algae, and I know that's a dirty word, really, but that's okay. And it also has a whole ton of wildlife, so it's got fish and plants, and snails and frogs if you're lucky. It's got all of those things. So we want to keep that natural ecosystem balanced. When we're thinking about cleaning, we want to put in a bacteria. This one is microglyph. So I don't know if you can see that in there, but it is liquid. If I spin it around, you got the name. This is a product that I use at home. When you open it up, this smells like nasty eggs, and that's okay, it's supposed to. But this is a bacteria that actually feeds on algae. So when you put it in, you're going to double dose for the first week, then for the next 4 weeks, regular dose, and then once a month thereafter. And again, it's a bacteria population that actually feeds on algae. So it will live in your pond and live in your filter. So every time the water passes through, you get these little guys that are going to munch on the algae bits and help keep it clean. This is the long-term approach. If we have the, oh my gosh, the party's in like 4 days and my pond's pea soup green, what do I do approach, then we need to look at something like this. Whether we're looking at the clean, and this one, when we're talking about clean, this helps to keep the water overly clear for the season, which is awesome. And it's super easy. It comes in a little easy pump, so you just pump it in and you do this as needed. The other one is maintain. And when we're looking at the maintain, this one you do off and on throughout the season, again, as needed. With both of these, they are relatively fast acting. So again, this is the holy cow, I need to do something about my pond inside of 4 days. Realistically, the best thing you can do for your pond is, again, build up a good bacteria in your filter and use a series of plants. So when we think about what we actually want to keep algae out of our pond, we need to make sure that at least 60 to 70% of the surface area is covered in shade. So whether that's through plant life, like what I've got around me, that is in the pond, or whether that's through plant life that overhangs the pond, doesn't particularly matter. Either one is totally okay. If we take a look at plants, we'll pop the bacteria out of the way. You basically have two essential classes, no different than you do in the garden. You have a series of tropical plants, so things that are going to die off with the frost unless you bring them inside, and you have a series of hardy plants. The hardy plants take longer to come up. So right now we're in the first week of May. If we take a look at our hardy plants here, we've got a few different ones. We've got a native Joe Pye weed, a native arrowhead, and then this one is a cool little one called a lizard tail. And so all three of these are bog plants, and what that means is they are suitable for use on a shelf. They don't like that much water on top of their roots, so you want to get them, so again, they're sitting on a shelf or sitting on a brick, so you're sitting about 1 inch to 2 inches below the surface of the water. Now, the big question is, can we actually leave these things in pots? Yes, you can. But again, remember, with hardy plants, we're only the first week of May, it's not actually showing a whole lot, and that's okay. So it's going to take a little bit of time for growth, no different than our trees and shrubs. If you don't want to leave them in the pot they come in, you can easily use a pond basket, something like this. You see the mesh sides there? So we have a few different sizes, right? So you can do squares, you can do rounds, whatever. You can even do a mix. So something like this one. Now this is a tropical arrangement. but you'll note the size. So we've got it in an 8-inch pot. And in here you get a bunch of different things. You've got some canna lilies for height. In the back, you've got a dwarf papyrus. So the other name for papyrus is king tut or little tut grass, depending on what you've got, right? The short one's going to be little tut or prince tut. The big tall one's going to be king tut. Very, very similar to the same kind of king tut grass you would use in your containers. And when we look at this, this is tropical. So this, we got to think annuals, no different than your geraniums or your petunias. So they cannot go outside until all danger of frost is past. But again, this has to sit on a shelf. We want no more than 2 inches sitting on top of the pot of water, rather. So it's got to be no more than 2 inches under the surface. We'll pop these guys out of the way. There we are. Some of the other really cool tropical plants that actually make a really good house plant. This one here is called a taro, or you may know it as a caladium. This particular variety is called mojito, and look at the different veination colors in here, right? Look at that leaf. That is so cool. Again, tropical, but makes an awesome houseplant. So this can stay out for patio season, and then when you go to bring it in, just make sure it sits in a saucer of water so it keeps the soil moist. So that's one really cool one. The other one that everybody is loving right now are the canna lilies. So I brought in a couple of different ones. This one is called Bengal Tiger, and if you look at the leaves, right, the leaves totally make sense. There we go, you can see it a little bit better. Kind of looks like it's got tiger stripes on it. Super, super pretty. And then the other one that we've got here is Stuttgart. And again, look at the leaf on that one. Canna lilies are awesome for the pond. So we want to keep them moist. Now these are a little different. We said the other ones are going to go under the water. These ones are going to sit at the water. So we want water level sitting right here. And again, you can keep them in this pot, or you can put them in a basket over time. Just remember to bring them inside for winter. There's a few other pond plants. So the next category is floaters. So with floating pond plants, you get things like this hyacinth, but look at the roots on it. This is meant to float on the surface of the water, so it does not need soil. But the nice thing about the hyacinth is because the roots are all in the water, it takes all the nutrients out of the water, which means it outcompetes that algae. So this is a really, really good option for keeping your pond algae free during the season. Hyacinths love, love, love full sun. Most of these plants love and need full sun. The one that's a little different is our water lettuce. And this one actually looks just like a lettuce or a cabbage. Isn't that awesome? Super soft, and you can see the roots on there. And water lettuce need part shade. These will burn in the full sun. So just make sure, again, it's a tropical, and it needs to, these two, you're actually going to put in the compost heap at the end of the season. Also for keeping your pond clean, oh, we've got these. These are a little dwarf water hyacinth. Look at how little cutie patootie these guys are. Same kind of idea. So if you've got a container pond or a barrel pond, this is a really good option because they don't get that big. For keeping your pond clean, I just brought in some snails. So this is a water or an aquatic snail called a melantho snail. And these guys eat algae. So yes, you do want them in your pond. They are hardy. So if your pond's at least 18 to 24 inches deep, expect them to come back year over year, which is kind of nice. But that helps. Again, we talked about that ecosystem at the very, very beginning. There's two other plants that I don't have here yet, a little bit early. One is a water lily. Absolutely need a water lily. Needs to be 18 to 24 inches down, and that's going to get those beautiful lily pads, and they're going to flower in the heat in the summertime. We also need something called an oxygenator. And when you look at an oxygenator, one of the most popular ones is called hornwort. Again, it's coming a little bit later on, but you get that in a mesh bag. And it looks like it's a whole bunch of roots together, but that's okay because that actually adds oxygen back to your pond, which means it helps keep it clean. So hopefully that helps for a few tips and tricks, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.